Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking over. That means all of you guys keep looking. You guys keep looking. I'll keep making. And today we're back. We're talking who's gonna win. I mean, we're talking like the people who can genuinely win this season. Like who I think has a genuine shot to win the game, not to get far, not to be likable, not to be like a player who played a really good, just a player who can win the game. And obviously we've done this series a lot, and I feel like this is probably the last time I'll do it since the numbers are getting very low. I'll probably just do more specific videos on playing out final threes that I have in my head or things like that. I don't think that I'll continue this series at least for the time being. For 42, you can expect that in the post merge. But for now, here's the last video in this little series of who will win 41. I mean, I basically I go through everyone. I single out the people who I feel like have zero shot, and then out of the people who I feel like have a shot, I do rank them. And overall, I think it's good because it tells us who we think even as a shot, so we can immediately eliminate people who we feel like are just taking up spots. Stay to the end of the video to find out what tomorrow's video is going to be on, which I'm actually still thinking. So I don't know, maybe it'll change over the course of this recording, but I do have a few ideas set up for tomorrow for my video before the episode on Wednesday, and so we'll figure out what that's going to be by the end of the episode. But first, before we start, 70% of you guys who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. And if that's those, let's get right into the video. Okay, so what makes a winner? Obviously, what makes a winner is a lot of things, right? There's so many paths to the end, but the main thing really is that I feel like there's always three qualities that most winners share. So the first one is a decent edit, right? No super villainous edit, no super purple edit. It's very like you need to have at least a decent edit as far as content, and then the type of content that you're getting. The only people that I can think of who got villained are Hatch and maybe Brian Heidick. And then as far as people who won and got purple edited, maybe Natalie. Besides that, there's like nobody who's even close. So I feel like most winners, I mean, right there, that's 37 winners out of 40, or what is it, like 35 out of 38 or some big percentage like that. And so I do feel like most winners probably end up having a very, very good edit. So that's one of the characteristics of a winner in my personal opinion most of the time. The second one is to have personal content or overall like seeing the game from their perspective being shown on the TV. If we see nothing from them personally, you're probably not going to win. And personal content doesn't have to be like a sob story where we hear about how their mom died or something. Personal content can be as simple as, hey, I like this person, I don't like that person. I'm using that person to get to the end, and I'm going to drag that person as a goat. That's personal content. Really, what I mean when I say personal content is content that is solely focused on that person, not content in which, for example, we have seen Heather mentioned in other people's confessionals, and they're saying, oh, well, I'm using Heather, right? We have never seen we haven't had Heather explain to us, hey, like I'm doing X or I'm doing Y. And so usually if we don't see the game from their perspective, and on top of that, we don't get personal content, meaning like seeing who they actually are as a person, that's probably not good for their chances of getting a winner's edit. And the third one involves a lot less explaining, and that's just being a good player. Like, it's very rare that we just get players that are just generally bad, and who also win the game. And so pertaining to the first one, right, I feel like a person who does not fit into this first category of having a decent edit, meaning not being a villain and not being a purple edited person, is probably Heather. I think that Heather is definitely a person that gets eliminated early on when talking about who has a chance to win, and I think this is the perfect spot to cut her at, because I feel like she does not have a decent edit. I think Heather, what is she? I mean, I guarantee you it's under 10 confessionals the entire season, which is absolutely ridiculous. And so there's no way that she gets the win here. I've never seen someone with even, I mean, at least Natalie had like something crazy like 14 or something. She has literally like less than 10 confessionals, which is not nearly enough to win the game. She's also gotten no personal content as well. We don't know anything about her. And really the most that we've got from her is we got some from her in her episode where she blew up at Tribal, and we also got more from her, or at least we got a scene focus on her when she fell at the challenge, or when she failed at the challenge and caused her tribe to lose. Besides that, we've literally got no Heather, zero, zilch, nada. As far as who does not pass the second thing, which is to have personal content and overall seeing the game from their perspective, is definitely Danny for me. I feel like although we have seen the game from Danny's perspective, obviously he tells us about how he like at the start of the merge he wanted the women out, and now he's telling us about how it's his choice to flop back and forth between voting out Shan and not voting out Shan, and he obviously chose to vote out Shan. We saw that, but we haven't seen any personal content from Danny, and that's the real issue. Is that with Danny, we can say, okay, well, he's playing a great game, and we can say, oh, well, we've seen we've like seen his side of the story. The issue is that with Danny, we don't know anything about him. Like I know of him as a player. I do not know anything about him as a person, and that's an issue, based on the fact that he is the one who is in the game, who is playing a game in which we're trying to tell a story. And if his personal story is not involved, that's a serious issue in my personal opinion. So that's why I do not have him as someone who can win the game right now. And the third category of just being a good player, I'm actually going to eliminate somebody here, who is not Heather or Danny. It's Liana. I feel like last episode I got some content from Liana that showed me that she's playing purely emotional, and she is not really quote unquote like in it to win it here. I saw that she's saying, well, now it's personal for me, or I'll go to the end with Shan, even if I lose. Like I don't care because it's personal. Because of her and Shan's roof or mountaintop talk or whatever. I do genuinely feel like Liana is playing the game emotionally, and if she's willing to throw away her entire game for a talk on top of a mountain, no matter how emotional it was, that's a serious issue as far as her ability to go far in the game. And so that's my other person who I feel like needs to be out of the conversation as far as who can win. I think Heather and Liana were easy choices here. Danny was a little bit more tough, but I'm getting to the point now where Danny has gotten no personal content, and it's literally like we have two. It's either 2 or 1 episodes left in the entire season. And so, I mean, I don't know, like. Come on, I just don't think that you can say that Danny has a shot to win when I know Danny as a player, but I don't know Danny as a person, which is so weird because he plays football. Like that's a really cool life to have lived. You would think that we would have seen or heard stories about how football has made him prepared to play Survivor and things like that, because he's how he's like Jeff Kent had gotten so many confessionals saying about how like baseball is a very competitive sport, and so it's like it's prepared him for Survivor. We've got none of that from Danny, and so that's why I have to have Danny in this not there category. He's just not a person who I feel like has the best shot of winning right now. So that's why I have him out of this little 4 cohort that I have of people who I feel like do have either a small shot to win or a big shot to win. And I did rank them from 1 to 4. 4 being the person who I feel like has the least shot to win. 1 being the person I feel like has the best shot to win. And so I'm just going to go through all of them. I will say that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are in complete different categories. 4 and 3 are in the same category of I feel like they have a shot to win, but not nearly as much, based on how they've been portrayed so far. And then 1 and 2, I feel like have a much better shot. And so really to clarify, the jump from 3 to 2 is a big jump in my personal opinion, although I feel like 4 is definitely set in place, and 2 and 3 were a little bit more loose, but still very solid as to where I thought that number 1 was going to be. And I think 2 and 3, although they're not switchable, they are somewhat close, although I do feel like right now, if the game ended right now, I do feel like my 1 and 2 would be miles ahead of 3 and 4 for if they could possibly win the game. My number 4 is Erica. I feel like Erica, everybody's so high on Erica. Everyone's saying, oh, well, you know what? Like, she's actually like a really good. We got nothing from Erica. We've gotten personal content. I'll give her that. We have seen the game from her perspective on rare occasions, with the split vote, and maybe with the Nasir vote, maybe, but that was really only because she was in a group of 2 that was in the bottom. So of course they're going to put her in the edit. But the one time where I will say that they could have edited her out, but instead they didn't, was at the split vote, and so I'll give her that. so we have, I guess, seen the second reason. She's also not a bad player. Like she's a pretty good player. So I'll give her the third point. The issue is that her edit, she got no pre-merge edit, and I know what you're gonna say is, oh well, Spencer, the Luvu didn't go to travel one time. Yeah, but we got Deshaun. We got Sydney, who went out at the merge, who isn't even on the jury. We got tons of Sydney. We got Danny. Like we got everyone except for Erica and Heather, and that's the issue. Is that in this Luvu tribe, we got Danny, Deshaun, Sydney, Nasir. We even at least Heather got like a scene. Erica only got one scene from one episode, and that was when she was, I believe it was when they were trying to throw the challenge, and we had heard like why they're throwing the challenge, and that was because she started to target Sydney. And so I do feel like overall, if there was someone from Luvu who would win, it's not Sydney, and because sorry, Erica, and I feel like because Erica didn't get that pre-merge focus and edit, I feel like there's not not much of a shot that she does win the game. Although there is still a chance, especially with her rising kind of stock going up right now, as the jury is very pro female winner. The issue is that she's the best choice, and she's not a very good choice. On top of that, she has got exit press interviews like done about her, in which people are calling her lucky, and so we do think that the jury is probably going to be bitter towards her, at least in my personal opinion. I also think that honestly, I think Erica's only real ally is Heather, and I think that is also a big issue with her game. But overall, just wrapping it up, I have Erica at 4, and at 3 I do have Ricard. So Ricard is definitely fresh off of getting rid of his number one ally in the game, or at least what was going to be for at least a little bit his number one ally in the game. I think Ricard is in a pretty good spot. That's why I didn't have him as a player who I feel like is going to go home soon. As a player who I feel like I feel like his edit's starting to warm up, and I do feel like his personal content has started to increase, especially about his perspective in the game being shown, and then also his personal content about him being deaf. And so he's gotten that as well. He's always been a good player, so that's never been in question. And then as far as him being above Erica, I think that Erica doesn't really have many options. Erica's only option is to work with Ricard, whereas in Ricard's options are to work with Erica and Heather, and then pull in Xander and blindside a Deshaun per se, or he can work with Deshaun and Danny and vote out like an Erica per se, because Erica may come after Ricard. And so I think Ricard has options here, and I think that's the main thing is, and also on top of that, Ricard had an awesome episode last episode. On top of that, I just keep listening reasons. On top of that, Shan said out loud that she would vote for him at the end, which is already a huge, gigantic plus. And then I don't know. I feel like overall there's a sense of like stock rising with Ricard, and I think that's the theme for the bottom half of this top 4 is Ricard and Erica's stocks are rising right now. They're going up. And I feel like that's really good as far as the audience's perspective, because it allows us to feel like, well, maybe they'll win as well. It's more candidates to win the game, which leads to more entertaining TV, in my personal opinion. Then as far as Xander, I feel like Xander to me is someone who's always been in this top 2, at least the past like 3 episodes, as he's going under the radar, and as Deshaun tries to blindside Shan, and Ricard tries to blindside Shan, and there's there's Liana, who's just waiting to go home and just waiting to go down as a terrible player. It's like with these players who are putting targets on their own backs and playing these big blindside, they're forgetting that Xander's there, winning challenges, being an underdog, and connecting with the jury before they leave. I feel like if Xander can lock up his votes that I think he can get personally, which is the first 3 members of the jury in chronological order, which are Evie, Tiffany, and Nasir, I do feel like overall he could pull that in, and if he does that, I think he's set. I think that those are his 3, and then he just needs to pull in one more. I also think that a benefit for Xander is that if there's a final 3, I think that Xander probably ends up, even if they tie, because the jury is going to have 8 people. So if it's like, let's say it's Xander, Deshaun, and Erica, or Heather. I feel like if Xander can even manage to tie the vote at 4-4, I think the third place finisher, whether it's Erica or whether it's Heather, I feel like it's going to be one of those two. And if it is, that person will always vote for Xander. I feel like Erica has a better relationship with Xander than she does with Ricard or Deshaun, which are his main two threats and the people that he could tie with at the end. And so I do feel like with them breaking the tie and making him the winner, it gives him more options so that he doesn't have to flip five members of the jury, and instead he really only needs 4 votes to win. He's kind of in a Wendell shot or a Wendell's perspective, in which I feel like Wendell only needed those 5 votes because he knew that Laurel was locked vote for him if she had to vote. Obviously, how could he know that? But I do think that when Jeff had mentioned the rules for that at the game changes finale, I think Wendell had probably seen that before he went out, so maybe he knew that, and so I do think that it probably was. It probably is like in this case really good for Xander to keep good ties with those possible third place goat finishers in Heather and Erica, and so I do feel like, and unless the third person is Danny, I think that Xander probably has a pretty good shot of winning with only 4 votes from the jury, which is like nothing. And then at number 1, I do have Deshaun. I feel like Deshaun right now, if the game ends today and he's in a 1v1 against Xander, he wins. I think he was in a 1v1 versus Ricard, he probably wins as well. Although I am a little bit more iffy on that with Shan. May like Shan, I think if it's Deshaun versus Xander, I think that Deshaun gets the cookout votes. Whereas, and I feel like if it's Deshaun versus Ricard, the 2 girls from the camp out could probably flip over to Ricard. But I feel like the more likely final tribal, if the game just played out like how the alliances are right now, I feel like it's probably a Deshaun versus Xander because Deshaun has the most power and Xander could win out. And so if Ricard does not go on a run here, I feel like the most likely scenario is a Deshaun versus Xander, and like I think maybe Erica's there. And I feel like from there, I do see Deshaun being able to pull in those 5 votes that he needs to beat a Xander or to beat a Ricard. And so I think right now he's the winner right now. If the season ends like right now, I feel like his issue is going to be if Ricard goes on a run, takes out Xander and then like takes out an Erica. He then kind of has to take Shan and Liana's votes from Ricard and that spot. And so I do think that he could be in trouble there. But I feel like overall, Deshaun's played the best strategical game so far in the entire season. And then on top of that, I do feel like Deshaun has been the most socially dominant, not the best social player, and in my opinion, not the best player on the season, just bare bones player. Although I do feel like he is the most dominant player on this specific season. Although I do feel like if you let all of these people play Survivor 1,000 times in a simulation, I do feel like Shan probably wins the most times. And so I do feel like Deshaun has played the best game. Who is still there? And so for that reason, it's kind of hard not to put him at that top spot. But obviously, I do have my gripes with his game, and I'm not some sort of Deshaun stan, but I can respect Deshaun's game to this point, and I think that if the game ends today, I feel like Deshaun beats anybody at the end. I just want to go through really quickly crucial jury votes for each person. Like if this person cannot pull in X or X and X or X and X and X, then they will not win. Let's just start at the bottom. So I feel like Erica. Okay, so she has Heather locked. She's not gonna get people like Danny and Deshaun because they don't like her because of the twist. She's not going to get people like Nasir as well. So I guess her crucial votes would I guess be if she can pull in Shan and Liana and go like all women powery. I feel like she could have a shot because if she gets to the end, she will be the only woman left there because there's no way that her and Heather get to the end together. And so I do feel like overall that she needs to get the whole women winner, like we like need one. It's been 6 seasons. Whole sentiment going like hard because if she doesn't, she's not going to win off of pure gameplay, especially with most of the Luvu tribe being against her based off of the fact that specifically Nasir, and then if Danny goes, I feel like he's gonna feel screwed because Erica got the hourglass twist in her favor, and so I do feel like Erica needs to push for the all women and get Shan and Liana's votes at least. Ricard's tough. So okay, let me think. So in a Ricard versus Deshawn final tribal, because I feel like Deshawn's almost a lock for the final tribal at this point. And I think it's going to be Xander versus Ricard at the end, fighting against each other. Or it could be like Ricard versus Deshawn at the end. So let's play out the scenario where it's Ricard versus Deshawn in the final three. I feel like from there, Ricard needs to flip Shannon and Liana and say, "Hey, I know that Deshawn's your like black winner that you've been fighting for forever. But hey, like you were with me the whole game, and Deshawn screwed you. So girls, give me your vote." And I think that if it's him versus Xander, he's going to get those votes. And I think the votes that he needs to pull in are at least one of those first three jury members, being Tiffany, Evie, or Nasir. I feel like if he can pull either Nasir, Evie, or Tiffany's vote from Xander's corner, I feel like he probably has a good chance to win against Xander. I actually think that he probably has a better chance against Deshawn, just because he's allies with most of the people who are also allies with Deshawn, and I feel like they went out with the worst taste in their mouth about Deshawn versus him, and so I do feel like Ricard does need to pull in different people based off who he's sitting with. As I said before, I feel like Xander needs to get that Evie, Tiffany, and Nasir cohort from the jury. He needs their votes to win the game, period. And then Deshawn, I feel like, needs to make amends with Shan and Liana. Really, it's Shan, because Liana is, when she goes, is probably going to be Shan's puppy dog, and so I'm guessing that wherever Shan votes, she'll vote, and if that's the case, then she just needs to get back in the good, he needs to get back in the good graces of Shan. And so I think overall that if he can get Shan's vote there, I feel like he's almost a lock to win there. That's easier said than done, because Shan literally vocally said out loud, "You're a snake," to Sean. So I don't know, but I feel like if he can get Shan's vote, he's in a really good spot there. And that's it, guys. I mean, I just want to talk about who I feel like could win the season. Tomorrow's video is going to be a video talking about how, I think Jeff has been a little bit pandery. I don't think Jeff's been that genuine. Similar to how RHAP is, I feel like Jeff has kind of lost his ability to have an opinion and to be kind of harsh. He's gotten a little soft, and I feel like I want to talk about how Jeff's gotten a little fake woke, and so that's going to be our video tomorrow. We'll always have the live shows on Wednesday after the episode airs. None of this happens without you guys. I'm a weird guy speaking into a microphone. If that's all, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.